Hi, it's Nina Zapala here. This is a place to talk about spiritual personality typing. I don't know about you, but has anybody been watching Inventing Anna? Like all my friends are watching it. I looked on Netflix and it's like a top 10. So I wanted to get into this, obviously, in regards to personality typing. And I wanted to look at this. Now I go into the blog. My blog speaks more to the traits in her type and how these unhealthy traits manifest in the real world. So that's a very interesting look. Here on YouTube, I try to also give you a more detailed look. So, if you want to go to the blog and read that, perfect. Or if you're more into the video thing and a deeper look, it's always going to be on YouTube. And I think I'm probably going to start going on to Rumble just because long story, we don't have to get into that. Anyway, Inventing Anna is a very, very interesting look at how one's personality type affects their life. Right? How does your personality type actually influence your life? And if you're watching Inventing Anna, you'll see very much how it does. Now, I'm just going to go into this a little bit because I have to set a foundation for what I'm speaking of. But so Anna, she is, I have her as an ESTJ. And so when we talk about personality types, and then we go into this 4 letters, there's a hierarchy on how we use our traits. And I say from the conscious to the least conscious, right? So her dominant trait is extroverted thinking, very, very well displayed on the show. Introverted sensing. So this is a very interesting trait. That's her secondary trait. So that's the one she uses right behind the dominant trait. So she uses that a lot. And that trait is very much supportive of her extroverted thinking. So those 2 traits are tight. Those 2 traits, they're like BFFs. If you separate them, you don't have a personality type. These are my thoughts, okay? Take what you will, leave the rest, because there's a lot of personality type specialists out there. I do my version, they do their version, okay? So, and this is where I'm talking about the differences here. This is gonna be interesting. And then she has extroverted intuition, which is really interesting because okay, let's go back to, excuse me, let me stop here for a minute. Let me roll back one quick second. Introverted sensing is all about memories, traditions, what has been. And a lot of time, people with this trait, especially as dominant as it is here, it's a very high trait in her consciousness, they use that to make decisions. They rely on their past, on history, on tradition, on convention, on that kind of stuff to make decisions. And you can see her doing that. You can see her. She often talks about how her childhood friends were very abusive to her. She has this imaginative world about her father, how she grew up, right? But can you see how distorted it's all gotten? Because she went into the matrix of it all, right? And okay, I'll stop and I'll go back to that. I have so many thoughts. This is my ENTP-ness coming out. And then like I was saying, she has an extroverted intuition trait, which is my dominant trait. So I know all about this trait, but it's all about possibilities, what could be, opportunities, seeing new ideas, being innovative. It's very interesting. And that plays a big, big, big role in her life. A big role in her life. Mine also did. But if you don't balance it, which she appears that she has not, she didn't balance it in. She didn't let it emerge. She was forcing that, right? Your dominant trait always has to lead. And she was. Her dominant trait of extroverted thinking is profoundly concerned with controlling and organizing logic. Logic is her objective no matter what. No matter what situation, no matter where she is, no matter who she's dealing with, logic always trumps everything. In her instance, to the point where it became hedonistic and narcissistic. And we're going to get into that too, okay? Now, her last trait, which is the least conscious of anybody's traits. So we all have this. We go from a very conscious state, I didn't say it's healthy, I said conscious, okay, to the least conscious. Her least conscious trait is introverted feeling. And you can see this. Look, she has nerves of steel. She does not get emotional. And she even says, I think it's like in episode 3, I don't know if that's the right episode, but she's talking to Jessica Pressler's, that her actual expose, she's talking to the reporter and she's saying, oh, I see people for what they can contribute. And that's how somebody with a very logical, organized mind, they can be in a crowd, they're very observant, and they're like, this person would be good for this person would be good for this person would be good for this. In fact, I used to work for somebody, his name was John Hewitt, of John Hewitt Tax Service. He did that exact same thing to me. I was at a party, yakking it up with everybody, trying to, I always like to have interesting conversations. So I was just having some conversations, and I did not know this, but he was observing me. And he walked over to me and goes, we want to hire you. Talk to Martha and be at our offices Monday at 9, because you're the perfect person to kick off our speakers bureau and augment our public relations marketing department. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll go see. It's an opportunity, right? My personality type. So anyway, that's how these people do that. Now John Hewitt was an excellent. He's one of my favorite bosses on the planet in a corporation setting. He was awesome. So people with this trait, now this is what I'm going to start getting into this, we're all different, right? And I want to speak to some of that now, because the rest of the stuff you'll find on the blog where I go into each of these traits, how it influenced her, how she showed up in the world, blah, 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 right? It's very interesting read. So maybe since you're here, do this first and go read the blog, whatever. If you're a J-type, go to the blog first, then do YouTube. It would make a lot more sense for you. So what I want to talk about here is how much this show relates to what I'm teaching and talking about and discussing weekly. And a lot of the opening scenes, it's like, who is Anna? Have you ever asked yourself that? I have. Who is Nina? Put your name in there. Have you ever asked yourself that question? I'm sure you have. We all have. So this goes beyond personality typing. And this starts getting into other aspects of yourself, right? You see that we all kind of, on a collective whole, we all have the same struggles. We all have the same fears. Anna was trying to show up in New York City, a complete nobody, which is extremely difficult in New York City. I worked in New York City in the travel world. None on the level that she did. But I worked for some very influential financial personas, let's just say that. I don't want to go into it. But even that was just like, whew, it's intimidating. And here's this 24-year-old, and I wasn't 24-year-old at the time. I was like in my 40s. And here's this young whippersnapper showing up, and she's commanding that kind of respect. She's commanding them, they listen. And she was doing everything in her persons to get people to listen. But she was also well-educated, well-read, knowledgeable. Yeah. She had a lot going on. She had a lot going on. So when she's tackling this, you know, like, who is this person? Like, she just shows up and all of a sudden she's hobnobbing with all these people. How did she do that? How do we all do that? Is it the fake it till you make it thing? I know that's what I was told. Put the Armani on. You know, where's your Chanel jacket? Where's your Chanel watch? You have to show up like a hitter to be somebody in this crowd. Yeah, that's the matrix of it all. That's the matrix. And I know one of the characters on the show said in New York, it's all about power, money, and love. That's it. It's a harsh reality. Where's the kindness? Where's the servitude? Where does your soul fit into all that? Believe me, as I was watching this show, there was one scene, I was like, oh my God. It really triggered, and some trauma came up from it, where Anna and her group of investors were going to be walking into the space she wanted to buy. And it was funny because the power broker men, right, were all walking in, and she was kind of walking in the back. And I was like, oh my God, I can relate to that so much. Just how it was. And it's not anymore. It's changing. And we have to be the change of this. So that's why I'm always saying, don't change yourself, find yourself. And I had somebody email me and they go, Nina, you're not lost. Why would you find yourself? And I'm like, I believe you are lost. You're lost in the matrix of the external world's expectations, just like Anna was. She was brokering for money, for power. And love was her last. And she wasn't even concerned with that. She was so lost in getting ahead and getting the money and making a name for herself. And what she didn't realize, and she was already on the journey, she was already making a name for herself. She was already doing it. Yeah, and she did things wrong. We all do. Like, and this is the funny thing too, because if we start judging our differences, like, oh, she was a narcissist, she was a hedonist, she was a control freak. Well, don't we all have some of that in us? We all do. And like her attorney was saying, who on the planet, you know, we're all brands now. We go on Instagram or like go on YouTube, Instagram, wherever, you know, we set our filters on. That's a lie. It's a lie. You know? I mean, look how fake social media is. It is. I mean, you hear it all the time, you know, sadly, you follow this influencer and you think, oh, her life's so great, you know, I want my life to be like that. And then, you know, you read about it in the paper, they committed suicide. I know, it's just, but it's just, that's what I'm saying of like, that's where you need to find yourself. You need to wake up and find yourself in the matrix because you are lost to that. You haven't lost yourself, but your path is lost in a matrix of conditioning, which we've been programmed our whole lives. So there's nothing to blame here. But if you get back to Anna, she was so I think she was just that individual. She was that powerhouse individual. When she was born, she knew. I mean, look at her. She was in her room cutting out, you know, magazine. She was in Vogue and Vanity Fair and cutting out all these dresses and putting her head on top of it. She knew what she wanted. Now her parents were confused. They're like, who is this child? Because they didn't have their traits. They didn't understand her. But don't we all do that? And don't we all excommunicate people that we don't understand? That's what I'm trying to change. We need to embrace these differences. We need to embrace the differences of who we are. Well, I'm not saying we're all going to get along, we're all going to be best friends, but you got to embrace aspects of other people. If we're going to go into this new age and be different than we are now, we can't be judging. Judging and judging is kind of innate in us, right? It's kind of how we make decisions. We judge. Now we judge in two different ways. There's a perceiving way, which I'm more of a perceiver. I lollygag, and there could be something better. I procrastinate when I judge. I put things off. And a person with a judging trait, they're much more secure with being organized and having everything in place, being structured. Why am I going to judge that? Sometimes is it hard for me to step with them in their life? And yeah, because I don't want to have that much organization and those rigid schedules. It rankles me a little bit because I'm not like that. But you don't judge and criticize, which we tend to do. So I want us to start looking at personality typing and take these takeaways with Anna, how she was perceived, what she did, how she showed up in the way. That was her. And you know what? I had so much empathy for her because she was so lost with that feeling trait. And you could see it every once in a while. She would just almost get to the point where she would cry and then she'd pull herself back in. No, I'm losing control. I can't go there. I can't feel. I don't want to have sentiment. That makes me weak. And it doesn't. I'm kind of guilty of that myself because my feeling trait too is tertiary, it's third, and it's extroverted. So I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So I'm a little bit more in touch with that. But if you understand that about her, and if you understand in her childhood, where she was kind of excommunicated from her family because they didn't understand her. They didn't know what to do with her. Here's this little girl like, I'm going to go this, I want to do this, and they're just a traditional little family, eking out a living, doing their thing, have some kids, and here's this girl going, no, I want to be queen, right? And they're like, who is this child? So they kind of let her go. They didn't embrace that. How many people have that in their lives? Or how many people have the opposite where you're so embraced, you're so embroiled in your family that you lose yourself to that? So she had, and it was so much on display, she had that. So isn't that easy to see now that why she couldn't let her feelings go? Because she didn't even have feelings in her family as a young child. She didn't have that. So you got to understand where she's coming from now as an adult. You got to understand that. And honestly, and this is the attraction. This is where you get into some spirituality. The people that she was attracting, they weren't hanging out with her to be her best friend. There were several. The beautiful woman at the hotel, and I'm not going to remember names because it's not how my mind works. And she was one of my favorite characters. I just loved her tenaciousness. I loved the way she observed, but she was loyal. She had a truth about her. And she was stepping into that truth no matter what. And she did it with Anna. And did you notice that she was the only one that Anna paid? Yeah, because Anna could feel that genuineness, the truth of that person engaging with her. And when you operate in your truth, people feel it. I don't care what kind of people they are. But Anna could feel that she had that relationship with her that was truthful, that she could count on her, that she was loyal to her. And she certainly was. Who was in the trial with her? Who came to trial with her? Who started all that Instagram for her? And a lot of questions I got. I was like, well, why was she so concerned? Was she that's such a narcissist? They've got to be, in the show. And I'm like, yes, there's some truth to that. I've had some experiences with narcissists, so that's true. But on the other hand, she was looking at, like, I believe again, this goes back to her childhood. She was looking, I was like, why don't people see me? She was getting so frustrated. Why don't people see that I was doing? And she had the ideas, let's face it. It was more than just a deck. She had the idea. She had the pedigree. I don't care where she got it. I don't care if she got it from reading. I don't care that she wasn't a Rockefeller or a Rothschild or whatever. Who cares? She had the knowledge in her mind, and she was applying all that she knew to her corporation, to her vision, to her dream. She had the deck. She had the business prowess. Why do you think all these people were listening to her? She commanded them to listen. She was getting their attention. So when she's in court and she looks around, she's like, what the hell? Am I not being heard again? I'm sitting here in court. I've gone through all this crap and nobody's hearing me, you know? And yeah, so she did it in the way she did, you know? She's female, so she used fashion. And people started showing up. But when people show up, they can start listening too. So she went to that. So do you understand? Does that make sense a little bit more? Why she was doing those things? You know? And we all get lost in a matrix, and it starts in our childhood. There's not one. I don't care who you are. No one's had 1,000% perfect childhood. It's not realistic. You know? Ask my son. He'll be like, oh, my mom. We have a great relationship. We love each other deeply. But I did some really stupid shit with him. I just did. I'll admit it. I'm not the perfect mom. I'm never going to say I'm the perfect mom. And he's not the perfect kid. We're not here to be perfect. That's some 1950s show that was programming us. You know, it just makes us feel shitty about ourselves. It's not what this is about. We're all flawed. That's why we're here. We're here to look inside ourselves. We're here to learn about our personality type and then use it in the most healthy sense to support our spiritual selves, because our spiritual selves express through our personality type. So our spiritual selves, our soul self, your higher self, whatever you want to call it, I call it the true self or the truth. The only way it can express through you to help you take inspired action is when it's healthy. If it's full of fear, your higher self can't talk to you when you're full of fear. Anna was full of fear. She was full of fear. Her personality, her traits were very unhealthy. But that's what she learned. She was relying on something from the external world. She was trying to grab from what she saw as success from the external world and pull it into herself. And when you do that, it never works. Believe me, I know. That's why I went through a 7-year life tsunami. And that's why I think this show kind of triggered me, because I saw myself in it a lot. You know, putting up with this patriarchal male society. I know when Anna was talking to one of the investors, like, who are you? I don't know you. Come back when you have names. I am a name. I am a person. I'm sitting right in front of you. Why don't you take time to get to know me? It's not how it works in a patriarchal society, which we've been living in for how many decades? Many decades. I think even before, I know it's the 1900s, and it got really, really embedded after World War II. It was all around that time. It just escalated and escalated and escalated. So Anna is a product of that. I'm a product of that. You are a product of that. What I love about, and I'm so glad my son's here with me, because he's always enlightening me with, you know, how he's thinking. But there is a different way we're thinking now on the planet, you know. And of course, it's the younger people, not all the younger people. But they have a different way of looking in the world. They don't look at gender, which is so refreshing, because that's a role. That's a role. And look at how Anna got slid into that agenda role. Look how that one guy has hand on his ass and, oh, I'll give you money. I'll work differently. Just sleep with me. Like, who the do you think you are? Seriously? And that's what I loved about her. She had no intention of that. And she was very gracious. She was very gracious on how she just like slid her hand over, And then again, my favorite character at the hotel is like, oh, Anna, you have an emergency phone call from your mother. No. And she caught it. She caught it. Because she was in her truth. And she knew that wasn't Anna. She knew that. So she reacted in a very she took inspired action. That's what I'm talking about. She took inspired action in a very beautiful way. She didn't have a tone. She just handled it. She just handled it. And I know, wasn't that great? But that's when you're in inspired action. And that only made Anna just want to know her more. It's another scene. I know this series really whoa, it was just triggered me a lot in good ways. And after that scene, they were in Anna's room and they were just in bed talking, and that beautiful. I should look up her name, but I don't want to be rude and look up stuff when I'm on the. But maybe I will because I don't. I won't look it up because it's rude. I don't want to take time looking up stuff. I should have been a little bit better prepared, but and TP. But they were in bed. They were talking. She goes, the hotel concierge was saying, oh, I really just want to make a film. And it's like, why aren't you doing it? Anna, what? Just do it. What's stopping you from doing it? Money is nothing. It's the ideas that are valuable, that are priceless. Money's everywhere. Oh, that was just like, yes, thank you, Anna, because she's right. And we're not taught that. We're not taught how valuable we are, our ideas, our expressions in the world, how we show up. That's the value. Money is only the tool that accompanies that, so we can do more of what we're doing. It's all an energy exchange, right? What value you put out, the more, you get a bigger energy exchange, and that's where the money comes in. So, if you haven't seen Inventing Anna, I strongly recommend it, especially if you're a professional woman that's been in the workforce like me and that's had to put up with a lot of bullshit. I know a lot of younger women, they're just doing their own thing. They're like, I'm not doing that, which, I applaud so much. I just think I also think it's a good lesson in that it helps us look at personality types from a very, hopefully, not as I don't want you to look at it as a judging way, but I want you to see yourself in Anna, right? I want you to see yourself in Anna. So if you're not an ESTJ, I'm an ENTP, and I saw a lot of myself in that. And I'm sure if you're a more feeling type, you're going to probably see less and less of yourself in that. But I'm sure there's situations in work or in life where you're like, ooh, that happened to me, right? Or, oh, I can relate to that. Because we are all struggling with the same thing. Let me just pull, I want to pull something up here real quick. I am going to be rude here. I'm sorry. Hold on, let me see. So ESTJ. Here's who Anna's personality. Here's some ENTJs listed. Henry Ford, Margaret Thatcher, Hillary Clinton, Condoleezza Rice, Martha Stewart, Michelle Obama, Ann Coulter, Megyn Kelly, Michelle Malkin, Sonia Sotomayor. Yeah. It's just indicative of their trait. And as a little child, she had this powerful verb about her already. That was her energy. And her parents kind of just locked her in a room and they didn't know what to do with her. I don't know, I kind of got that too when I was growing up. I was so inquisitive. It was Sorry, my dog just jumped and the whole thing's shaking. You know, how many people have done that? How many people feel like you weren't understood as a child? You know, there's no blame there. So there's no blame for that. Your parents are your parents. They're doing the best they can. You know, can't blame them. It's not about blaming, but it's about understanding that all the people that you meet, they're there to teach you something. Maybe they're there to teach you tolerance. Maybe they're there to teach you acceptance. Maybe they're there to mirror something that you need to see in yourself that might need more nurturing, that might need examined. Because when you get triggered by things, which I got triggered by this, I got to tell you, it was kind of like, wow, I put up with a lot of shit in my career. A lot of shit, you know? And the men thing, trying to get over on women, oh, aren't you pretty? Like, you know, let's go have a drink. Why? You know, and I'm like, I'm not a flirty type of woman at all. That's just not who I am. You know, ENTPs are just like, we want to have very intellectual conversations. I'm always wanting to learn and that kind of stuff, chit chat and all. So that kind of protected me a little bit, but man, I saw it with my younger cohorts. You know, they're just like, they'd come in and, you know, they'd wear low cut shirts and everything. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but it's very distracting in a room full of men when you have a young female sitting at the table and, you know, her beautiful breasts are hanging out. It's just distracting. So I tried to explain that because that attracts attention maybe in ways you don't want. So you have to be conscious of that. And for sometimes, in this person in particular, she wanted the attention, which was fine. I mean, that was her personality type. That's how she rolled. I don't know if it was healthy because she was extremely intelligent. She really had a lot going on, but she liked that attention. I'm not, who's judging? We all want attention in some way, you know? I'm like Anna, like if I say something, I want to be recognized. I want us to start talking about things. If you're not interested, fine. But you want to be recognized. Everyone wants to, you know, have that somebody sees you for who you are, if you are who you are. So who is Anna? I think we all ask that question. I want you to find that. So when somebody says, who are you? You can answer that question. Someone says, who is Nina Zapala? You know, I say I'm a very inquisitive intellectual. I love being unconventional. I'm very Amelia Bedelia-ish. I love Mother Nature. That's who I am. I don't talk about I'm a mother or, you know, I'm a strategist, a marketing communications strategist, or I don't talk about I'm a wannabe author. You know, I've developed this new theory of personality typing with a spiritual understanding. I don't say any of that because that doesn't tell anybody who I am. I'm an inquisitive, unconventional, Amelia Bedelia type who loves Mother Nature. And I also like beautiful things. I do. It just makes me happy. So when somebody asks me that, and I usually get like, what? Say that again? Like, because I don't go to the conventional role stigmas that we try to portray ourselves. And who does that tell me? I'm a mother. Okay, mother of what? I'm a mother. I'm a mother of a son. I'm a mother of a dog. I'm a mother of planet Earth. We're all nurturers. I mean, how does that define you? And you don't really need to be defined because we're always changing. Right? So I want to try to help you figure yourself out. Find yourself. Get to your truth. Get to the bottom of your truth. Anna was great. And I got to say, it's one more because this is getting long and I know y'all have things to do. But hopefully you're getting a lot out of this. But for me, you know, Everyone's like, oh, Anna did this. Anna did this to me. They did this to me. You let it. Just like I had a 7-year life tsunami. I let it happen to me. You got to take responsibility for that. And the funny thing is, everybody that was involved with her went on to do big things over her back. Interesting, isn't it? The chick that got ripped off with American Express, she put her card in there. She could have said no. She could have said no. But she wanted to be the good girl. Well, we should do her personality type too. I think I might. I might do hers next. But she wanted to be the good girl. She wanted everyone to like her, to keep the peace, you know? And so she didn't think about the consequences to her own self. So she gave her power away. And then she bitched about it. I'm such a victim. And I think I know that personality type because that's exactly what they do, because they're uber social. And like Anna said, they do play great actors, especially in the social sphere. They can turn it on. I've seen it. Which is okay. That's who they are. That's not healthy. It's not healthy to give so much of yourself away, lose your power so much that you lose yourself, and then you do become a victim. But you're a victim of yourself, of your choices. But she walked away with, look, a book deal, a TV show, blah, 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 blah. Right. And what did Anna walk away with? Interesting, right? Really good show. If you want to watch something, I think that's intellectually interesting, and I think it's stimulating. I think it's a checkpoint of where some women are in society and how we've been pulled into that the patriarchal society and had to live in there. I know I did for years. And that's why I had my 7-year life tsunami. My soul was like, get the hell out. You need to figure yourself out. This is not going. I need to wake you up. And I did. It was a very, very, very challenging time in my life. I had to be awoke. I had to break down so I could build myself back up. It's because you get so conditioned. You don't even know it when you're in it. You don't even know it. That's the thing. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. I love doing this stuff. This was a really good one for me to do. I was like, oh, this whole Who's Anna, inventing Anna is so what I try to help people do, is find themselves, to find their true selves, to connect with that higher self, and then to get that personality type so healthy that you're just flowing all the time. Man, your soul self's like, yeah, your higher self, your heart center, your truth, your true self, whatever you want to call it. It just flows with you. And so your personality type now can support that. So then you show up in the world with inspired actions. Yes, it's going to be bumpy. Life is life. Look at the world we live in. It's going to be bumpy. But you know you're walking in your truth. So when challenges come up, you'll know your truth. That's what's so exciting about this. So here again, Nina Zapala. I talk about personality typing with a spiritual understanding. If you like this video, please share it. Comment. Let me know if you're watching Inventing Anna and what were your takeaways. I'd love to hear. Let me know if you think I nailed her personality type. All right? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share. And like I said, I think I'm going to probably start going on Rumble too, just for my own truth, what I'm finding. I don't like censorship on any channel, so you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Gosh, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you watched Inventing Anna, please leave a comment. It triggered me. I don't know if it's gonna trigger you, but I found it to be very interesting. And like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next week. All for now, Nina.